Is our president a child murderer? New allegations.
I would really love to see these orgy parties that Vice President Estaba is rumored to frequently attend.
What's wrong with our anthem? Why change it so drastically? Is this an attempt to divert the public
Super PAC, a terrific name for a developer with an emphasis on politics, made this as the president, which is distributed by THQ Nordic. On my PC, I used Steam to play it. The game is based on a straightforward idea: pretend to be the President of the United States of America while attempting to accomplish your objectives in various ways. The narrative begins on election night in 2020, with the player assuming the position of the newly elected president. The player must first put together a winning speech by assembling quotes from well-known political speeches. When the game begins, the twist is immediately apparent. The president you are controlling was elected specifically to add the 28th Amendment to the Constitution, which will protect him from lawsuits after his tenure. To do this, players will need to employ a variety of techniques, most of which center around dialogue, and it is irrelevant how well the nation is run. This is the president's main objective can only be accomplished by giving a lobbyist millions of dollars, buying votes, influencing the Supreme Court's decision, and achieving a high approval rating. The game is not a simulation, but it does respect the American political system. This crooked president is able to get away with things that a real one couldn't. He is also oddly constrained in many respects, unable to use polls, forced to make judgments with insufficient information, and forced to deal with matters that would never reach a true head of state. Despite having elements of simulation, the game is not one. Every month, players will encounter at least one significant crisis that will have a significant impact on their approval rating. The most powerful man in the world receives smaller decisions. Using 2 or more staff, each of which has a set of skills and a stress level, along with the specific action options that each enable, is sometimes the only way to resolve a conundrum. There are also smaller events in the game that need for one staff member to be allocated for a month. Along with drafting his amendment, the president also gets to advocate executive orders and receives items that can help him escape certain situations and be transformed into the game. This is the president keeps players engaged all the time. The writing is generally strong and gets even better when things start to get ridiculous. But the game has a hard time deciding on a tone. The president has the power to act in the worst possible ways toward both people and groups. Additionally, he can strive to send a man to Mars before the Chinese do. When House of Cards tries to be as serious as the first few seasons of that show, it all works best. The absence of predictability is the major problem. There are some decisions when reading about the circumstance alone makes it impossible to determine what causes an increase in acceptance. The game does have a rewind feature for each month so that players can go back and select the best option each time. However, simply knowing how to act to achieve the best outcomes does not provide much entertainment. The game would have benefited from fewer options and better tools to assess and discover the optimum course of action. This is the president successfully combines a strong presentation with its basic premise and mechanics. For its numerous events, the developer has created a large number of artworks that have an aesthetic resembling a slightly abstracted version of what political-focused media features. The rare cutscenes have high production standards, and the interface is simple to use and instructive. The music and sound design are quite repetitious and slightly less spectacular. This is the president has a compelling premise, enjoyable moments, and interesting options. It can be hilarious to pretend to be a jerk who will do everything to gain total immunity while taking advantage of or manipulating everyone else. However, the tone of some of the events and choices conflicts strangely with the concept. Thoughts of being a good president are welcome, but the urgency of passing the amendment trumps any attempt at political engagement. When a situation progresses from being somewhat plausible into absurdity and satire, the writing is at its best. However, there are also times when the outcomes of player decisions seem forced or the game is making an unnecessarily strong attempt to reference reality. Super PAC knows exactly how to turn politics into sound gaming mechanics, they simply need to adjust them. World's tone more effectively.